Well, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. This is a real pleasure today because a lot of you, I'm sure, saw the episode in St. John's, Newfoundland, the other day, where 500, not 50, 500 fishermen, or fish harvesters, as they like to be called, were shut out of a Mark Carney rally. All they wanted to do is either speak to Mark Carney or even just the fisheries minister. So I've got Richard Gillett with me today. He was the guy you saw in most of that coverage who was leading this contingent of fish harvesters. And he's been a fisherman, I guess, his entire life. He's even done some TV. But when we come back, let's meet Richard Gillett. We need political change. But we also need to resolve to resist. Yes, thanks for joining us today. And please like the station now. It helps us beat the YouTube suppression, which I get on a daily basis, because we like to talk about truth and policy here. And subscribe if you can. We really appreciate that. It helps build the station. So without further ado, I want to bring in Richard. Good morning and welcome to Stand on Guard.
Good morning, David. Glad to be here.
So nice to have you. I'm just going to play a couple of maybe 30 seconds or so of the footage we had of the event in St. John's, Newfoundland the other day on Sunday. I think most of our viewers are aware of it, but just in case they're not, I'm just going to show some footage of that.
Are you Jason Sullivan? You have a minute of your time. So, tell me, this place is full of fishermen. Why are we here, Jason?
Oh, we're Liberal supporters. We're excited to see Prime Minister.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh yeah, he's just a regular Joe. We want to see him.
Prime Minister going to be due, right?
I'm not too sure, but
Team Joanne volunteer.
the event's not
You
underway
know,
yet,
you know
guys.
where Joanne is too?
The event's not underway yet, guys. Okay, I'm still volunteering.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, we're looking for.
anyone that's all right you and speak to?
Yeah.
When the event's open, I'm sure like there's going to be someone who can help, right? Like that door shouldn't have been unlocked, right?
But of course, it was locked. You were locked out of this event. You didn't get to meet Mark Carney or the fisheries minister. Now, before you take us through that day, I want people to understand what the issue is. The federal government originally wanted to reduce the quota of the crab fisheries to 49%, or to increase it to 49%. They've come back and said, we'll give you 25%, but you're arguing that a 15% reduction is all you can really handle. Is that right, Richard?
David, yeah, well, you played the footage from Sunday, but this really happened back in Friday, before the announcement, before the management plan was put down. We wanted to give the minister, because we were getting rumblings that they weren't going to listen to us, as always. Okay, with this Liberal government, with this DFO that we got right now, seems like that's the recurring, the theme with these guys. So Friday we went in to protest that, we wanted to make sure that, we weren't going to have a over exorbitant cut in our stocks, because really we're not seeing it in our area. Now, I'd be the first one to say that, we're conservation minded. I'll be the first one. Last year we seen our decline in our catches, and we took a 18% cut last year. And then this year with the survey that we had, with the pot survey, it showed a leveling off as a stock. So we done the right thing. This year, we went, so Friday, I'll get back to Friday. So we went in Friday to the federal building, and we contacted the minister's office and everything, and they said that we wanted a decision before it was out on the management plan to let us know. We were told 1 o'clock, and then we were told 2 o'clock, and then we were told that it was going to be later in the evening. And by some chance, when the building was breached and fish harvesters could take no more, Literally within 2 minutes, the RCMP that was on site and one of our union representatives, they were contacted within 2 minutes. 2 minutes of us doing the breach in the building, which we were peaceful before that. But again, it had to take that escalation to get them to respond. So anyway, from that response is they give us the numbers. And the numbers that we were given were absolutely devastating. A 49% cut to our crab fleet right now is a 50% bankruptcy rate. That's, to get it to your listeners, is that's exactly what it is. No bullshit, no nothing. A 50% bankruptcy rate. Air and Tree, we're all separate areas. 3L is up off St. John's area. We're further north and we really didn't have the crab quotas that they have in the 3L area. It's just the nature of our areas is just not, we don't have the bottom, we don't have the environment for the crab. So we were never access to these high quotas of crab. So really, with any cut at all to us, it's really detrimental. So anyway, Friday, we got those numbers and we decided we weren't moving. We weren't moving from the building. So we occupied the building for overnight. The officers were really steadfast in their belief of what they were doing was right. And so then, barring any, any reaction from the minister's office out in St. John's, well, we knew the news that Fisheries Minister Joanne was doing her campaign kickoff in St. John's, plus the Prime Minister was coming. So we decided to go to St. John's, and this is where the footage that you see right now we put earlier on there. This is where that footage came from, and we were peaceful. We've been peaceful through it all, and we said we would be peaceful. But we went down to the convention center, and what I can't understand is he acknowledged us that we were outside, and he also acknowledged in the crowd, in the supporters that he got, that he kicked off on his campaign, is that we will restructure DFO, which, by the way, really need it, and that we want to get closer to the wharf. Okay, but that means talk to fish officers. Well, Mr. Carney, I'm still waiting for a conversation with you, either on the phone or in person. So that minute, Prime Minister Carney didn't have to wait till the election, because that's what he said. If we're elected on the 28th, okay, he didn't only have to wait till the 28th to see if he was elected. Like a lot of these promises, he could have put it in play the next morning when we had a meeting with the minister's office and DFO. He could have done it next morning. He could have put it in practice. So if he was going to restructure, and if he was doing it in good faith, what he was saying, he could have listened to us and made the change. We would have been all fine. We would have been happy to have a 15% reduction. Our half of our fleet wouldn't have been bankrupt, and we would have went on our merry way. Now, since that, David, okay, I'll get into a little bit of the science part of this, okay, and I'll try to keep it simple, but because it is very complicated.
I just want to point. I just want to say at this point, Richard, Mark Carney could be doing a lot of things right now, but it has to happen in 5 weeks after he gets his mandate. And what you're saying, I think, is representative of what this man is doing. It's always, I can't do anything right now. Well, he's prime minister right now, and he refuses to do any of the things he's talking about, I think, because he has no intention of doing them in 5 weeks either. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
David, I agree with you 100%, because this is just the same old thing. Okay. The same old thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is election called. Okay. But I can tell you right now, if there's something happening in the government right now, there is protocols in that they can change it. Listen, they changed it from 49 to 25. So there's your answer. It can be done.
Yeah.
Anything can be done. Okay. Anything can be done if the will is there to change it. And the thing about it is, that night that he didn't come out, there was only a few harvesters, what I call a few harvesters that he had to confront. We were peaceful, we were everything. You talk about how is this man going to negotiate with Trump when he can't even come out and a few hundred fish harvesters? Like I really don't understand it. So we're here right now, and I'll tell you the science part of this. Okay, I'll like I say, I'll keep it simple. And what we do in the surveys of the crab stock, we use a pot survey, which is what we use to fish the crab. And the second survey that we use is a trawl bottom survey. That you take a big net, you drag it along the bottom, just the same thing as you were fishing shrimp or codfish or any other thing. And what it does is stays low to the bottom, and it takes the crab into the trawl. Okay. Since 2002, or 22 years now, 22 years, we've been doing these surveys this way. So on the trawl survey, we've really been only 10%, 12% in the difference from the pot survey. This year, for some reason, that it's 50 plus. It's really out of whack. It's just simply out of whack. And we're saying is that, I did pose the question to science. I'm still waiting for the answer, by the way. We've been put off days now, and we're still wanting to know the answer. Why? Can you explain to me why this anomaly is there? Now, maybe it's this or that or whatever. But in 2020, 2021, when we had the pandemics, they couldn't do the trawl surveys for physical distancing and all that stuff that was in play that time. So the department said we have the utmost confidence of the pot survey to set the TAC. Okay, this is not new. What we're asking them right now is not a new thing to do. Okay, so we wanted them to take that survey out of it. So if they took the survey out of it and went back just with the pot survey, we would be status quo or a little bit of a decrease, because it's 600 tons in the difference from last year. Okay.
Yes.
So we would be down to the level that we would be comfortable at, and we could absorb, because we got fishermen here now, multi-million-dollar industry or fish harvesters with enterprises that can't take those absorbed cuts in the crab. And the thing about it is, from one year to the next, you're talking about a 50% reduction. That's not management, David. If you're going to be managing something, you should be in the 10, 15, like that. You should know, you should have your pulse on the species, on the biomasses, that you should never be any more than that. Unless there's out of the blue, some environmental freak thing happens. But on the whole, you should not be anything over that. But the funny thing is we have different areas. We have 2J, 3K, 3L, 3PS, 4R. So we got around 5 different areas. We're all supposed to be under the same regime, which is called a precautionary approach. Okay? So you take the trawl survey, you take the pot survey, you add it together, and then you divide so much area you're going to add to get your index, your biomass index. So that sets your quota, however much exploitation rate you want to take out of it. It could be 44 like us last year, 36 at a 15% reduction. We really would have been down in exploitation rate of the biomass from 44 to 36. So we were going to help the stock. Okay. So again, fishermen, conservation minded. But in 3L, we have asked for the numbers, and we have went over the numbers. And for some reason that we can't get an answer, and we can't figure it out, because the same biomass index number for this year is the same number that it was for 2023 and 24. Even though their trawl survey and pot survey was down, our trawl survey and pot survey was down, but the number of 205, we can't understand where they got it to. Now, we were treated to a 1-year management plan. We usually do a 2-year rolling average. So now they done it with 1 year, and it seems like in 3L, I got nothing against 3L. Good on them that you got the crab stocks, the crab biomass, and everything like that. But the problem that we got is the minister is telling us that we have to do it this way, and we'll do it a different way for another group of fishermen. Okay? And the thing about it is that if you're going to treat us all and put us in bankruptcy mode, well, you treat us all right. So we can't figure out where does 205 come from. Okay? We can't get the answers. Again, we ask the hard questions and we cannot get the answers. So with a 205, David, it seems like that they threw out the pot survey, which was down. They threw out the trawl survey, which was down, and picked that number from a 2-year rolling average, which really should be done. And that's all we asked. We asked to be equal.
Yeah, and you've got clearly the science on your side. But do you think this is all about politics for this Liberal government, looking like it's very, very concerned about the ecology and it's not going to let these horrible fish harvesters disrupt it for them?
Well, see, David, science, this is not a new thing for us, but with science and the disconnect, okay? This is not a new thing. Over the past 9 years of this Liberal government, listen, we lost the macro fishery, which took $2.5 million out of my enterprise, okay? And other enterprises like that were really, really dependent on this macro fishery. And the macro fishery was closed on nothing only the NGOs and the environmentalists and the woke nation that's infiltrated this government. And that's the only reason. It's not because of stocks. It's not because of the macro is not there, because we're fishermen. And that is one of my main fisheries, the pelagic fishery. I'm a pelagic fisherman, mostly. And I know what I'm seeing on the water. We can't get any herring quotas. The herring is absolutely millions in our waters. There are that many that they're actually stunting the growth of the herring. There's not enough food for them. And we are gradually going down and down. We're gone from hundreds thousands of tons of herring one time down to 14,000 tons. We were gone from hundreds of thousands of tons of capelin down to 14,000, 16,000 tons. Like, it's a different story if you had something else to go to. Okay? We don't have anything else. DFO science, okay, which is almost always out of whack, always out of touch, because they don't have any fishermen, input. We're down to nothing. You can say, well, you got codfish. No, we went from a high of 500,000 to 700,000 tons in the heyday down to 18,000 tons. Like, what, David, what are you supposed to do with it? There is nothing to market. There is nothing. We're losing processing capability here in Newfoundland. And that would be a problem right now, is that if we do get the quotas increased, we can't do anything with them. There's nobody there to take it. There's nobody there to process it. Because over the years of cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts, that everybody has really condensed into, like here in the province, like we got 5 or 6 processing plants for pelagics, where one time we had hundreds. And I don't know how this government can really say, okay, let's stamp on them. Let's stamp on them again. They're down, boys. Let's stamp on them. We got a 4-hour fleet, just took a 33% reduction in shrimp. It's devastating. Absolutely devastating. And bankruptcy numbers. And it's frustrating, David, that, you wear them. We got you back. I don't know if anybody have heard that before from the Liberal government. We got you back. We got
every other day.
Right?
Do you think Mark Carney has any understanding of ordinary Canadians?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And to me, in my opinion about Carney, he has no more of an idea about the ordinary Canadians. Can you remember that he could not answer in the debate? He could not answer the average weekly cost of a grocery bill in an ordinary household. You understand that? How out of touch you are? Right?
Yeah,
so if you want to represent ordinary Canadians, boy, you come down to our level. You should have come out the other night and spoke to us. You should have the other night when you made that promise in the campaign hall. You should have delivered on it in the next morning and showed everybody in good faith that you are the man of your word and you would have done it. Instead of that, it's hollow promises again.
Well, Mark Carney had a question yesterday in Halifax at a news conference. The last question of the day, mind you, and he was PO'd that somebody wanted to ask him a last question. He's upset. He's looking at this reporter with the evil eye that he reserves for just about everybody he doesn't like or agree with. But I want your comment on this exchange here.
Stations in parts of the province that really, really rely on fisheries and being sandwiched between the tariffs from China and the U.S., what will you tell people who rely on that, who are worried about their jobs disappearing?
Well, look, first is very focused on, I met with the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans 2 days ago, 36 hours ago, going through a number of issues around that. We have put in place a series of measures to protect workers, engagement with both the Americans, Chinese on these issues, something we discussed at First Ministers. Look, we're going to fight for the fishery. We're fighting for a sustainable fishery. It's integral. I mean, look, these are people's livelihoods. It's part of who we are as Canadians. It's part of our core identity. And so no greater priority. So the message is we're there. And again, we have representation, and it's very important to have that representation at the table fighting for those individuals, and we're going to do everything we can.
What do you think? A load of BS?
Oh boy, I can smell it all the ways from here. To be honest with you. Okay? The thing is, I'll use, and I said this right to the minister, okay? Gold is $3,000 an ounce, but we can't get none of that either. So the price, the tariffs, you can do all that things, but in our case right now is we have nothing to sell. They are taking everything that we got to make money and what we got to sell to ensure our enterprises and our families and our communities and everything can survive. They are actually taking that dollar. So really, the tariffs doesn't matter to us right now. What they're going to do for us right now. And again, I'll go back to, we got you back. We got you back. Guess what? We're still trying to survive from COVID as fish harvesters. We're still trying to get our legs out, in under us. We're still trying to survive from that. So we've had hit after hit after hit after hit. And again, with that statement right there, Mr. Carney, you had a chance. You were concerned. You're saying you're concerned, but you weren't concerned enough to come out and talk to us. You didn't have those concerns. You didn't have enough concern to solve this problem. You didn't have enough concern. And if he's uncomfortable, good on him. Because guess what? He's starting to come down and see how the ordinary people of Canada live.
Yeah, well, that was a robotic response, like everything with Mark Carney. I've got to tell you, Richard, I don't understand the appeal of this man. And even if I was a liberal, I would not understand the appeal of this man. He has the personality of a reptile. He's completely uninterested in meeting people. He looks like he's aloof, distance. He dismisses people. He hasn't got time to deal with this. And don't ask me another question. What do you think I am, running for office or something? This guy, I find him completely unappealing. But I've got to ask you, you've done a lot of interviews. You've done a whack of interviews in the last couple of days, a lot of them with the mainstream media. Do you think the story would have had any play at all on the mainstream media if it hadn't first appeared on what I like to call the new media, on social media? I mean, there was a lot of this on X. There was a lot of this on YouTube and Rumble, and people found out about this, first of all, from the new media. The mainstream media ignored this completely at the beginning. And CBC claimed, there was a contingent of fishermen there, but Mark Carney acknowledged them. And I thought, something wrong here. What do you think?
Well, the thing is with the media, you can always twist it the way that you want to portray it. we didn't get much traction out in Grand Falls when we were out in Grand Falls. Actually, there was absolutely no. I don't think my wife is there, and she's been standing by my side here through all this, and she's a fish officer too. And I don't think there was a camera out in Grand Falls. So David, that's why we made the decision to come in here in St. John's. And I've done interviews with the NTV here, CBC, and that here, and we've kind of here. I consider that we've got favorable airtime and respectable doing our review. They portrayed what we've had, but again, we had to come to St. John's is the thing, and with Carney really kicking off his campaign here in St. John's, we just thought that it would be a good chance for this man to show his true colors and talk to the fish harvesters of Newfoundland and Labrador, which there's a lot of us, and he just blew it. To be honest with you, he blew it.
He blew it. Well, my final question, I really want to thank you for being with us today, because I think this story is very important. And to me, it symbolizes how detached and unreal our prime minister, and I hate to call him that, but our prime minister, Mark Carney, is. But do you think the mainstream media is in his pocket? Are they giving him a free ride so far in this campaign? Since he announced he was running for the leadership of the Liberal Party, has the mainstream media been giving Mark Carney a free ride?
Well, in my personal opinion, yes. Okay, and not a free ride, I guess, but I guarantee you, they haven't been asking the hard questions that really need to be asked. Okay, and the thing about it here in Newfoundland with Carney coming from Trudeau and everything, boy, we're hurting from the last 9 years of Trudeau. We are absolutely hurting, okay? And, there's a lot of people here in Newfoundland and Labrador, I can tell you now, are not accepting the fact and forgetting the fact of the last 9 years. And, me personally, I really do think that if they get in again, we are, and this is not only me, there's a lot of fish harvesters are saying, that we are absolutely done. There's a saying here in Newfoundland we got about all this, is that replacing Carney with Trudeau is like shitting in your clothes and just changing your shirt. It don't change a thing.
That's perfect. That is perfect. I think we should probably leave it on that long note, because it doesn't get much better than that. Richard Gillett, Newfoundland fish harvester. I still say fisherman. I never said fisher, even though that was in the Canadian press style guide. We'd never catch me saying that. Thank you so much for joining us today. And, Godspeed with what you're doing. Keep up the fight, as we like to say in this station, resolve to resist. That's what I'm trying to do with Mark Carney, because I'm not going to have some globalist installed as the prime minister of this country and just ride roughshod over our freedoms like he did to you the other day. To hell with these 500 people. Keep them outside. Who are they? Who do they think they are? Well, you think you're Canadians. You think you're voters, and you think you have a right to meet with a man who's running the highest office in the land. And he denied you that. So I'm as upset about this as you are, Richard. But thank you for joining this show today. And I want to stay in touch and have you back on, and you can tell me about your progress.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now. That was Richard Gillett, and fascinating conversation. And before we go, I've got more, and I'm not going to go too much overtime, but this is the latest outrage about China and Mark Carney. And I tell you, it's bad.
Conservative leadership campaign. What are your comments on that?
Well, first of all, let's quote from that Globe and Mail article. I'm going to quote here. CSIS also did not have evidence that Mr. Polyev or members of his inner circle were aware of these alleged actions. Then I'm going to quote the Hogue Commission, and I quote, The commission heard testimony about allegations of the government India interference in the Conservative Party leadership race. CSIS witnesses noted that they had no reason to believe the impacted candidates would have been aware of the alleged support. Let's be honest. I won the leadership fair and square. Even my political competitors, like Mr. Patrick Brown, have publicly testified under oath that that was the case. But I'm glad that the Liberals put this attack out today. Really glad. Because there's something that's really been worrying me. After Justin Trudeau named Mark Carney his economic advisor, giving him massive power over public policy in Canada, Mr. Carney went over for meetings in Beijing where he just had secret talks with the deputy governor of the Chinese central bank. 2 weeks later, Brookfield got a $250 million loan. What did they talk about? What did Mr. Carney in his role as Trudeau's economic advisor offer of China? Why would he be having secret meetings with top government-controlled bankers about getting a $250 million loan while he was supposed to be acting in Canada's interest as the Prime Minister's economic advisor? Why would he be collaborating with a hostile foreign regime that we have since learned executed 4 Canadians and took numerous Canadians hostage for a lengthy period of time? And given that Mr. Carney knows that he still owns massive financial interests in Brookfield, which owes a $250 million to a Chinese state-controlled bank, how do we know he's not going to act against our interests in favor of his financial interests? Why didn't he stand in front of this microphone and confess to Canadians that he owes the Chinese government that kind of money? Is this why he's covering up his financial interests? And given that China has murdered our people, taken our people hostage, how is he ever going to stand up to foreign interference when he is so financially compromised? We have never in our history had a weak, out-of-touch leader so terribly compromised and conflicted, whose interests go against our national interests. And I call on Mr. Carney right now to come before a microphone today and explain if this loan is still in place and if he still has those Brookfield assets that he had up until a few weeks ago. Because we cannot trust someone. Could you imagine, while you're supposed to be advising Canada's Prime Minister on the well-being of our economy, going to a foreign regime that had executed Canadian citizens, taken Canadians hostage, that it had already been public that they had interfered in multiple elections. They've done incursions into our northern waters. Mark Carney will never be able to protect our national interests because he has massive financial conflicts of interest overseas. What we need now is not to give the Liberals a 4th term with a weak and compromised leader. What we need is a Prime Minister who will put Canada first for a change.
Obviously, Mark Carney can't do that. He can't put Canada first because he puts Mark Carney first. What is this called, folks? Well, I have a name for it. It's called influence peddling. That's what you do. Mark Carney's the chief economic advisor at the time to Justin Trudeau. How does he sell himself? Well, guess what, folks? I'm not only the chief economic advisor to Justin Trudeau, I expect to be Prime Minister very soon because I'm going to run for the leadership of the Liberal Party, and it's going to be virtually unopposed. I expect to win. That's the kind of corruption we're up against. Yeah, Mark Carney, task force. And here's the evidence of the meeting. And the funny thing is, guess where this was reported? Bloomberg reported. And guess who the chairman of Bloomberg is? Mark Carney. It's absolutely astounding that, yes, Bloomberg reported this. The company has secured a 15-year offshore loan of 1.96 billion won. 276 million from the Bank of China. What else has Mark Carney been up to when he's out there securing loans? While he's out there representing the government of Canada. Well, perhaps you can say, well, he wasn't directly working for the government of Canada. He was working for the Prime Minister, who happens to be a large part of the government of Canada. So it's splitting hairs, isn't it? But this man is just reeks of problems. And the question arises, of course, this is the same Mark Carney who told China that the yuan should replace the US dollar as the currency for global use. This is the same Mark Carney who wants a digital currency, by the way. But he said repeatedly, and we have quoted him, that he wants the Chinese yuan to replace the US dollar because China has such great environmental policies. It is beyond belief. Now, Beijing, or China, announced retaliatory tariffs on several Canadian farm imports in response to the Canadian duties levied back in the fall against Chinese-made electric vehicles, which, of course, are not selling at all in Canada. So why do we have tariffs on Chinese vehicles when nobody's buying the Canadian-made electric vehicles? But here's the kicker. China is hitting Canadian farmers with a 100% tariff on canola oil and peas and a 25% tariff on pork and aquatic products. Aquatic products, hey, we just talked to a fisherman. You see the connection? This is all interrelated. It's frightening. So my question to you, viewers, friends, is Mark Carney saying nothing to China right now because he's tainted? Not only because of this loan, but because of years of being in China's pocket. And we've talked about that in our deep dive, and we'll talk about that more in the Substack. This is a horrendous situation. This is a prime minister who is obviously in a very difficult position, and he should not be given a 4 or 5 year mandate. He hasn't come clean about any of his financial interests. He hasn't talked about any, and guess why? Because he has 120 days to do that. And by that time, he could be elected as prime minister instead of just appointed. That can't happen. More about this tomorrow, folks, because this is, I think, one of the chief stories of the year, and we have to focus on it. Thank you for watching today. I'll be back again tomorrow with all the news you need to know.